All right, another spicy pep talk today. Today we are talking about something that I used to do a lot, and that is being a martyr to motherhood. For those of you who do not know what a martyr is, I actually had to Google this one day because I was like, well, what does martyrdom mean? Like, what does it mean to be a martyr? Basically, it means you're being a victim to your circumstances. And here's what I want to say to this, because I used to do this all the time. I used to fall into the trap that society would tell us that once you become a mom, good luck getting a shower before noon. You'll never eat a hot meal again. Um, Basically, you're going to walk around looking like a disheveled mess with a top knot in your hair and spit up all down your t shirt. Now, while some of these things are true sometimes, this is not the vibe. This is not how you walk around all the time as a mom, and you are very much in control. And so I think something that I gave my control away to was this martyrdom, this lie that society told us that motherhood has to be a chaos train. I really believed it. I really believed it for a long time. And finally, one day, I just got pissed enough with life that I was like, you know what? I'm actually not living life this way. And I changed it. And the thing is, universal law, right? The power of one. What is available to one is available to all, should we choose to go after it. It's the same thing here. If you want to choose to be a martyr to motherhood, if you want to choose to resent your kids because you're not getting the things that you want, you're not getting that shower before noon, you're not being able to, you're feeling like you're not able to take care of yourself and do the things that you desire to do, that's on you. That is on you as a mom. And I say this with so much love because I have been here. I've been in your shoes. I have been overwhelmed and frustrated with life. And I used to be the girl that would be like, well, yeah, that's easy for you to say. Like, look where you're at. And here's what I will tell you, I was that girl, and I am not that girl anymore. And now I look at people who are living lives that I desire to live, and I'm like, okay, that is what I want. And so, like, for me, this just started off, honestly, like you. I would hear these podcasts, you would see these TV shows. I'm trying to think of like what used to be my main source of like information, like Dr. Phil. um, I would Instagram. I think Instagram's a huge one. And what we don't realize a lot of the time is that that is somebody's highlight reel. That is the pieces of humans' lives that they are wanting you to see and allowing you to see. There are a lot of things in my life that I don't share on Instagram, and there are a lot of things that I do. And so, what you see on these little social squares is very little. And I know that you've probably heard people say that a million times, and I get it. It is still kind of hard to not get caught up in wishing and hoping, wishing and hoping, but wishing and hoping that you were there too. And I used to look at these women and I'd be like, well, that's easy for you. Like, you're making 10K a month, you're making $100,000 a year, you're making whatever it was, right? And now I'm in this place. I'm not making $100,000 a year yet, but I'm in a place where life feels really good. I feel like I have a life that a lot of people aspire to have. We have so much freedom. We are able to do the things that we want when we want to do them. And while my dreams are still a little bigger than my bank account at the moment, life feels good, really good. And I love how I'm showing up as a mom. I'm still always working and improving there because I am seeing little ways that I'm like, oh, I want to do this differently. Oh, I want to be better here. Something that's always been really hard for me is just like sitting down and connecting with my kids. That has been hard for me. I like to do things with my kids. So I like to take them hiking. Let's go swimming. I will go out and jump on the tramp with them. But when it comes to like sitting down, having a one-to-one conversation face to face, that feels really hard for me. And so I can have a conversation. I especially, one place that I really like to talk to my girls when I want to shift something, and this is something that I've wanted to shift. And let me give you a little backstory here because my two oldest girls got a very different mom than my two youngest. When I had my oldest, I was the overwhelmed, frazzled martyr mom. I absolutely was. I will not deny that at all. And so they got her and her sister, Ken and Ella, they got the quit your down bawling. I'll give you a reason to cry. They got spanked. I yelled. I yelled a lot more than I care to admit. I was overwhelmed and frustrated all the time. I was snapping at them. And looking back on it now, as I'm reflecting back, I can see where I was projecting my own shit onto them. I was almost blaming them for my life being a disaster. And it wasn't their fault. It wasn't their fault. This was all me. This was me letting my overwhelm and frustration drive my emotions. And then instead of choosing how I wanted to show up and respond, I would react to everything. And I would react not in the kindest ways. I would snap at them. I would not be the nicest human. I would snap at my husband. It's almost like, you know how when you get mad and then somebody comes and tries to talk to you and you just turn like a dog barking at something? Like, I picture a dog biting at a fly. Have you ever watched a dog bite at a fly? Like, the fly gets close, 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 and then all of a sudden the dog snaps. That is how I felt like I was. So they got that version of me to me drawing the line in the sand, deciding that's not how I was going to be anymore. Now they have a very different version of me. They have a very regulated version of me. They have a version of me who knows that emotions are okay to feel and okay to speak. And in our house, we can talk about everything, but they don't believe all of that yet because of how I was in the very beginning. And I was that way for many years. I think probably my oldest was about 8. Was she that old? Maybe 7, 6 or 7. Um, when I like really decided I was going to change things. But then again, like, it takes time to change old habits, right? And so they got that version of me. And so now that I have shifted, I'm just noticing, I don't want to say like where damage was done, but I'm just going to say it that way for lack of a better term. And so part of me is like, oh my gosh, like, they're teenagers now. I'm too late. I've had all of these thoughts come up, right? But it's like, no. How can we find little ways to not be a martyr to the circumstances, to stand in our power and to shift it? And for me, it does. It feels like really hard work. Um, it's really uncomfortable for me. Like, I feel like we're very open in this house, but a lot of the times I'll say things in a joking manner to kind of lighten the mood, lighten it up a little bit. And I really struggle. I don't want to say I struggle holding firm boundaries because I have no problem with that, but every now and then they'll kind of joke with me and it'll be like a little dig at what can I get away with and pretend I'm joking, but really, like, it doesn't feel good to me. That's kind of where I'm struggling right now, is like, okay, how do I approach this? How do I say, hey, actually, I'm not available for you to talk to me this way? And as I'm answering that, I'm feeling like this is exactly what I say to them. Like, hey, I'm actually not available for you to talk to me that way. Let's have a little more respect. Um, but there's a part of me that's still like really uncomfortable with that because I don't like confrontation, and not that they're going to freak out. I don't think that's it at all. But there's just these little parts of us, right? There's these little parts. I'm like, there's, how do I want to say this? And I'm stumbling all over my words, right? There's these little parts of us that just aren't quite sure. And it's like, oh, if you say that, she's going to be pissed. And then there's that other part of me that's afraid to have her pissed at me. And so it's just like, I don't know, such a paradox. Like, motherhood is just a paradox all in one, right? Like, we love them, we hate them, we we want to spend more time with them, we want to spend less time with them. It's just so funny, all the paradoxes in motherhood. Um but here's the thing. We get to know that we are not perfect. We get to know that we are trying our best. We get to baby step in and try things. And here's what has worked for me. And I hope that you can like take what you want from this and decide what works for you. I have needed to baby step my way in. And so something I'll do is like, I'll start with something small. So for those of you who have been following along with my journey, oh my gosh, excuse me. Know that I've created a boundary. It's actually a whole boundary guide for you. I typed up a PDF and talked about internally motivating your kids and what I've learned from my kids' therapists, and then created this little task list because, again, I could go down a whole nother rabbit hole of like the mental load that we as moms carry for our kids and how to get that out of our head. And so I've created this task chart. And so this is where the boundaries fell in our house, is that I got it off of my plate and out of my head and onto this boundary list. And then my kids are in charge of making sure they get it done. That's it. But if they don't get it done, there's a consequence. And where was I going with this? I'm trying to remember at this point. Guys, I'm going off on tangents here. I feel like I have so much to say on this subject. But um yeah, I don't remember, but as far as like other boundaries go and expectations, it's like I don't know how to approach certain things. And so while I do feel like we have a very open household here, we can talk about everything. It's not it's not that we sit down around the dinner table and have full-on conversation. Um it's kind of like asking questions and then naturally, I mean, and teenagers are this way anyways. They kind of are, their brains are wired to kind of pull away from us as parents as they get older. And that's natural. That's so we don't have 40-year-olds living in our basements, right? But we haven't like sat down and have all these deep conversations around dinner. Like I feel like maybe I believe that a lot of other people do, and it's probably not true. Um, but I am able to have some conversations with my girls, especially they'll open up to me like when we're driving in the car because it's not like sitting there one to one, we're staring at each other. Um Holy cow, you guys, why am I yawning so much? Energy is shifting. Um but if we go do things, then sometimes it's easy to get them talking. And so it's just like finding what works in your home and knowing that if you are not happy with something and you don't like something, you can change it at any time. I am not going to sit here and tell you how easy and simple it is. It's simple, it's not easy. It is still out of my comfort zone to try to open up in certain ways to my girls to get them to talk to me. It's still a little difficult sometimes to like stand in my power and draw a boundary on the way that they treat me because I'm afraid of upsetting them. I still have that. I am not perfect, but showing up the way that I show up and now deciding what I am no longer energetically available for has negated some of those behaviors naturally. And so it's like when your kids feel this, like, oh, mom's not available to mess with, like, they're going to feel that and they are not going to do it, right? Kids have a BS meter like nothing, like no other. You just can't slip anything past them. But when you are complaining that motherhood is hard, when you are complaining that you never get a shower, you never get a hot meal, you're always covered in spit up, it's time to look inside and be like, well, why? Why am I doing that? Am I not allowing my partner to support me? Am I not receiving support? If somebody offers you support, are you saying, oh my gosh, that would be amazing, thank you? Or are you saying, no, 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 you don't need to do that? Here's what I want to say to that is when somebody offers you support, they are in their power when they are offering that support. They are fully prepared for you to say yes. And when you say no, you're basically telling the universe, I am not available for any more help. And so the universe is going to listen. You're not going to get the help you want. Then you're going to continue to be a martyr, and then you're going to continue to complain, and then you're going to continue to create more of what you're focusing on, which is exactly what you don't want. Let's change that. You are in control. We cannot control everything that happens in life. We can control how we respond to everything that happens in life. So if you want to continue to listen to the BS that society is feeding you about being a martyr in motherhood and never getting a shower before noon and having this dirty top knot bun in your hair and a t-shirt with spit up all over it, that is your choice. But if you want to live a different life, then you also have a choice to change it. And that is what this is all about. So stop choosing to be a martyr, take control of your life, step into your power, and show the F up. And I will talk to you next time.